Welcome to the Plastic Adventures Podcast. I'm Doug, joined by Steve, and we like to talk about toys. A lot.
We're here to take you on a trip down memory lane, a fireside chat, if you will, about those little pieces of plastic that captured our hearts and imaginations.
So join us on this plastic adventure, and let's talk toys.
And so, Mandalorian action figures, specifically retro action figures. Okay, so I'll go through what I was thinking when I first heard that these were coming out. What the heck? Where's the Return of the Jedi retro figures? That's what I was thinking. Why are we getting Mandalorian retro and not the logical next step in the retro line, which we had A New Hope, we had the 6 from A New Hope, we had the 6 from Empire Strikes Back. Why are we missing Return of the Jedi? And so we got Mandalorian. And so I was kind of put off a little bit, but then I saw some of them, I was looking at them, and I actually really liked the Mandalorian TV show. And so they grew on me, and I picked some up, discount prices.
You did really well on what you paid for those things. Yep,
I picked up Moff Gideon and Grief Karga first, $8 a piece. I was like, hey, that's a steal. And then I was looking at them, and I was like, well, I wasn't going to do it. But now I did it, and so now I'm in it.
The whole I wasn't going to do it, and now I'm in it is like the broken record of all toy collectors. There's always something out there that has stunted us or turned us off in the beginning, and then we end up buying every last single character from the line. So
yeah, like the G.I. Joe Retro. I wasn't going to buy the Fang. I didn't buy the Fang. It got given to me by my son. But now that I have it, well, it's actually growing on me. I kind of like it. So I know it's, and I think that the retro lines are like hit and miss. And the G.I. Joe retro line compared to other retro lines, I feel like is a miss. Whereas the Mandalorian, even though it's not really retro, it's a hit because it hits that retro feel.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you 100%. When I saw those, I don't know, when the news dropped about them, it was probably 8-9 months ago, and they were revealed on Hasbro Pulse, I think, is where they dropped. I thought to myself, yeah, why the hell are we getting Mandalorian retro? Return of the Jedi is obviously the next logical step, but Mandalorians get going hot and heavy. It is a very well-received brand out there from casual people to hardcore fans. And the figures themselves, they're extraordinarily well done. They fit in just right with all the other retro figures. They look like they belong with Star Wars. So I passed on them out of my desire to keep my Retromania pure with just the original trilogy. But in looking at the figures, they're just extremely well done. And that Moff Gideon with just the gray-colored lightsaber instead of a cool-looking dark saber, that is just such a Kenner thing to do, especially with all of the little details that they missed on the other figures, like Luke with the yellow lightsaber, Han with the wrong blaster, etc., etc. So it's extremely well done. I'm very selective with the types of toys that I'm buying, so it was still a pass for me, but in looking at the figures, they're all great figures. They are retro done absolutely right, from the card art to the packaging. G.I. Joe is retro done extremely wrong. There's something definitely wrong when the 25th anniversary series is a better 35th anniversary series than the 35th anniversary series.
Agreed.
The Joe vehicles, they look cool.
But that's the saving grace for the G.I. Joe retro line, right? Is the box vehicles. Because even though the figure is not a retro figure per se, the box and the vehicles are, excluding the Fang.
Yeah, the box art is great. It is updated versions of all of that great hand-painted art that we had when we were kids. There's a lot of appeal to it. The way that I have these new G.I. Joe retros displayed in my room makes complete sense with the display that they're on, but that is a discussion and obsession for some other podcast some other time. So, yeah, the vehicles are great, unless you count the reissued blue Hiss tank that we're getting now, which is the Hiss 3, because they just didn't have any other ideas, or they needed a money-saving sort of
all of
maneuver.
the vehicles.
But yeah, so Hiss 3, the toy completely sucks. The driver is stupid looking, and
oh man,
it
you
was
know what
very
I would
misplaced within the line. They got a million other things that they could be bringing out, and we get a repainted Hiss tank as the next retro vehicle.
which didn't make any sense to me. But you know what I would have really liked to have seen is a reissued Hiss 2, right, with the big red cannon.
Oh god,
And-
you're talking about the Hiss 2 from 1990.
Yeah, that was a beautiful tank. The big red triple cannon on the back, and the what is it? The red missiles on the sides.
Man, they got too much other stuff to get to
No, I know.
before they go to the Hiss 2. I mean, we got to get in. Man, there's tons of vehicles out there, and I don't know what condition that the molds are in, but raise your hand if you'd like to see a Wolverine reissue. Boom, this guy here.
Yeah, even if it's like you turn the tow cable, which is the notoriously always missing, always broken part of the Wolverine, even if you made that like a different color, like you made it like dark gray, or you made it white, or you made it green, or whatever.
Make it a little more flexible, too.
Or make it a little bit more flexible, but everything else looked exactly the same. I would buy the Wolverine in a box in a heartbeat. Well, and so that's the other thing I was going to say. Like, there's other vehicles that I think they would do well to reissue that don't have to be like the big box reissue. Give us a Ram cycle, right? Give us a Jump jetpack set.
I like the snake armor.
The snake armor would be awesome, or a claw, like the
hang glider.
Yeah, the hang glider. Release some of those, which I think would be freaking awesome.
Well, cycling back to the Star Wars retros, because we get off on all these sidebars very frequently.
It's turning into a retro topic.
Yeah, we're having a sidebar about a sidebar, and that's what the kids call meta today, I think. So anyways...
that's what I call a rabbit hole.
Very happy for the Mandalorian retros. I felt they were a little misplaced timing-wise, but it made sense from a marketing perspective. It would have been kind of cool getting a Mando in his full-on like silver suit. I think that would have been pretty awesome.
As a retro re-release instead of the multicolored armor that he's in.
At the beginning of the series, he's in his piecemealed armor, but I mean, he spent 3/4 of the series in that full silver getup.
Yeah.
And I think I would have crapped my pants if they sent out a updated case that featured, spoiler alert, secret character Jedi Luke from the end of season 2. Gosh. I don't know if my inner nerd could have handled that.
You would have bought that. That would have been the one.
That
would have been the one you caved on. You would have bought that.
Well, almost definitely, and like 3 of them. Yeah, 3. One to have in package, one for the other one in package to look at, and one on my shelf. So.
Oh gosh, no, so talking about retro and talking about like which ones get it right. And you think of Star Wars, how they re-release theirs, G.I. Joe, how they release theirs. Transformers, I think, is the one that hit the retro nail on the head, except for the Headmasters release.
Yeah.
So like the Soundwave reissue, the Blaster reissue, the Astro Train reissue, the Starscream reissue, and the packaging was like phenomenal. That was what they did all of that right. The only one, so the elephant in the room, if we're talking about Transformers retro, Optimus Prime, right?
Yeah. Yeah, your $50, $20 figure.
Yeah. Where's the trailer?
Well, we got an extra gun.
Well, that's great.
In a small, tiny little box where the deluxe playset of 1983 is smaller than the Starscream packaging. Yeah.
I have not seen the Optimus Prime in person out of the box, but I've seen pictures, and he looks like Optimus Prime, right? The toy.
Yeah,
I would assume he does.
It is actually based off of the Ultra Magnus mold. But
Oh.
the colors, yes, everything is right. The stickers are right. The hands have the amended mold that actually lets him hold the gun this time. Because they put a peg right behind the bent handle on the original toy, the bane of all children's existence. But
the original had to hold his gun like
sideways,
like cockeyed, like a little bit.
Yeah, made zero sense. But so I mean, those are improvements on the toy. But when you can buy the Chinese knockoff for $40 shipped to America, and the plastic is absolutely on point, and the stickers and everything else, and it's got styrofoam in the box, so it has that new Transformer smell.
I bought one. I know you bought one.
Oh, I bought two.
It feels so much more like the Prime that we should have got for the retro line.
Yeah.
But if we let's take Prime out of the equation, but look at the other ones.
Oh man, everything else is a home run.
It is.
You've got the clear plastic trays, which are, nobody wants to have styrofoam, and
I personally would have made those white.
Yeah, white plastic.
White plastic trays. But the box art, the figure, everything seems just like a mold right out of...
Yeah, you couldn't have had better retro than that. I mean, that is the absolute apex of retro. The headmasters, maybe there was mold degradation, or maybe it was done as a cost-saving measure, because Walmart is asking for these retro figures every quarter or every half a year or whatever it is. So maybe that was a cost-cutting measure, putting those Headmasters figures in the classic boxes. So yeah, you're right, misstep there.
Except on the side note for that one. So I do like the packaging of them because they're really cool looking. But I don't have an aversion to the Titans Return or the Combiner Wars Headmasters that were released that these molds were from.
Oh hell no, they're better versions of the G1 characters.
Oh, they
than
are.
The G1
They totally
characters,
are.
like in every conceivable way, articulation and accuracy to cartoon, etc. They're great figures. It would have been neat seeing the original Headmasters, but those Hasbro molds have just made their way around the globe, so God knows where all of those are at. So I can see why they do that. Same with the Autobot cars. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Chinese knockoffs of the cars, many of which never saw reissue in the early 2000s at Toys R Us. But they look good in package. I've never taken any of the knockoffs out of their bubbles to see just what's going on with the molds and where we've lost detail or where we might have some defects, but for the time being, they're doing a really good job. And we've got PulseCon coming up in October on the 23rd.
Right. Yep.
It might be kind of cool if they updated us on where the reissues were going. I'd anticipate probably Skywarp or Thundercracker reusing the Starscream mold and the few changes that are going to be made there. Beyond that, I couldn't really tell you what it's going to be. But retro done 100% right, every conceivable way.
Yep.
Total opposite of what they've done with the retro G.I. Joes, who half of them don't even match the card art. So
I know the Snake Eyes one
drives me crazy, man.
And what really kind of makes me mad about that is that the O-ring G.I. Joes is what everyone was hoping for when they said retro G.I. Joe line. And they I think they could have come up with one or two engineering upgrades, like removing the O-ring function or part of the figure, but keeping the look of the O-ring waist. I think they could have done that easily. That just a minor addition of plastic to the waist up through the torso would have been just fine.
Oh, most definitely. Yep.
But it would have
a ball joint at the waist, and a little curvature coming into where the torso seats on the waist, just like the curvature of the original figures. Just have a ball joint or something in there, and you can dump the rivets if we don't want plastic.
Yep.
Joints are good enough now. We could have gotten some classic looks.
I think they could have come up with, like I said, one or two updates, but given us the look of the O-ring G.I. Joe, and everybody would have went ballistic. Those things would have been, I mean, not that they didn't fly off the shelves in the first place, but
good luck even getting the crappy retro figures now.
Yeah.
I mean, we tooled around that Sunday, and O-Face Duke is still there, but someone bought the other Cobra Commander, so sad to see my favorite being a peg warmer, but that toy is a plastic turd.
It's the face, man. It's the face. Why did they give him the screaming, yelling, open mouth face? Out of all of the Duke heads,
Yeah, and we have seen them use different heads on different molds.
Yeah.
Those anniversary 2-packs from Toys R Us, we had a great Pursuit of Cobra head that was stuck on a body from the Renegades show. So any reason why we can't use that Superior Duke head sculpt and just throw that on the 25th anniversary Tiger Force Duke with the proper cuts of articulation on the forearm, paint them up in the right colors and put it out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe it's going to get better, and they're still selling a ton of figures, and maybe they needed to do the line on a budget. But it almost feels like you got people directing the brand that have no idea about the brand.
Yeah.
On a shining note, we've got all of these third-party products coming now, and with Snake Eyes, the movie out, and more G.I. Joe support coming in 2022, maybe there's going to be a course correction on that. Maybe you know, whenever movie lines come out, they might completely suck, and then there's some sundry line that is for the collectors that ends up being really good. Or maybe you have to be like me and spend $80 on a 7-inch figure from Super 7. $80 shipped.
I couldn't do it
to get my cartoon accurate Duke. You know, I will see it in about a year and 15 months from now, when Super 7 finally gets them out of their warehouses. But by God, I'm getting my cartoon accurate Duke finally.
I couldn't bite the bullet on that one. I was the bat from that series looks beautiful. I just couldn't spend $55 plus what, 20, 25 on shipping.
Yeah,
yeah.
But by the time it's all said and done, yeah. Well, I think there's one.
But it looks beautiful. I mean, they look gorgeous.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, super cartoon accurate, and since toys aren't for children anyways, they belong in a museum. It's just coming out of the package, coming out of the package and going on the shelf. We had an idea. I had an idea. And I think it probably went over like a lead balloon with you. But Super 7 is doing all those 5-point of articulation G.I. Joes. And I like those better as retro figures than the current retro figures that are on the market. I know you don't feel good about it.
So I will say this. They are slightly better than what we got from Hasbro. But I still think that G.I. Joe's point, the whole point of G.I. Joe, even when it first came out in 1982, was that it's got more articulation.
Mini version of the 12-inch figures.
Yep, it was like we got more, you know, it's not Star Wars, we've got bending knees and bending elbows, and it's like that was the selling point, right? And then you go to the 5-point articulation G.I. Joe's like, well, I mean, it's
They're
not
okay.
20, it's not, whatever.
I would have been expecting that. Wholeheartedly expected it with somewhat of the aesthetic of the O-ring figures. That's not what we got. For anyone listening out there, their new retro-style Joes are very, very similar to everything else Super 7's putting out, from their Escape from New York to the new Ninja Turtles. Very, very similar to Hasbro's Star Wars. They're just intentionally low detail, intentional bad sculpting. But the figures that are coming out are rad. And you can order a case of green shirts and Cobra Troopers, so you can build your army for like the low price of $18.99 a piece.
Oh God, army building! Army building is another topic for a podcast in the future.
I don't make army building money.
I do not either, and army building. I can understand why some people do it, but man, to people like me, where it's like I just want one, and to not be able to find them on the shelves, to see them shoot up in price online, it's a little disheartening. I mean, there was one. So even back in the day, a long time ago, there was this video that was released for Endor Han Solo. It was at a time when I was trying to build my Star Wars vintage collection, and I'm just looking for an Endor Han Solo. And this one guy posts this video on YouTube where he sets up his 400 Endor Han Solos in a domino effect, and he just knocks them all down. And I'm looking at this thing going, you bought 400 Endor Han Solos with the jacket just to make this video, and now I can't find
now you
one.
have one. You drove up the price on YouTube. artificially like it's a stock on the market or something.
You've got 400 of them in this video. Why do you need 400 Endor Han Solos? Anyway,
Never been an army builder, even with bulk enemy soldiers. When I played with them as a child, I just picked the dead one back up and ran him right into the hail of gunfire from Duke or Sergeant Slaughter or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Luke Skywalker, etc.
Like I said, army building, scalping, that's a whole nother podcast. We won't get into that. But retro, back to the original topic of retro Mandalorian. I think, like I said, I wasn't too excited about it when it first was announced. But once I got my hands on them, I got to look at them, and I put them with my other retro Star Wars figures. I'm actually liking them. I actually think they're pretty cool. I see what they're doing now, like what you said, because they're striking when the iron is hot. Mando is a hot topic right now. It's what's keeping Star Wars going. When the Star Wars fan base was kind of split before that, I know there were people who were yay sequels and people who were nay sequels, but Mando kind of seems to bring everybody back onto the same page, where all of them are like, yes, Mando is great for everything.
Mando is great Star Wars, and it was the right decision for him to make at the time. It doesn't make sense for me to buy them based on the way that I am displaying my Star Wars retros. Someday we'll post up a picture, and it's all really very sad, but it's a discussion for another day. But they would not fit in because they do not look like retro figures. So in my display that I have, Mandalorian's a pass, but they're exceptionally good figures, done exceptionally right. Speaking of the sequels, I will be a little upset if we get Force Awakens retros before we get Return of the Jedi.
I will be so mad.
I think that's going to be a pass for you. Although I think I could get me some retro Old Man Han. I'd be into it. That'd be pretty sweet.
I tried.
I think you're out. And a retro broken down Jedi Luke with a bunch of green milk around his mouth. I think you're out on that one too. You come with a green bottle of milk. Yeah.
Oh no.
When it's empty, he can put all the haters' tears in it because Star Wars movies make $1 billion a piece.
Yeah, they're not going to care if I didn't like the sequels.
Not at all.
They're moving forward without me, and that's fine. I don't care. Star Wars, there were things about Star Wars before these things came out that I was not happy with. Like, let's not talk about Caravan of Courage. That was a sad, sad moment in Star Wars. Okay?
Yeah.
Although, as a kid, you were like eating that up. Oh, Caravan of Courage.
Oh, I took anything Star Wars would give me. I was a Star Wars hooker.
I look at it now and go, God, why did I see that? It's a horrible show.
Dude, I tried to watch a little Droids.
The cartoon.
Like about a week ago. And that show is so horribly bad. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some Droids retros.
Hey, it had Anthony Daniels as the voice of C-3PO.
Yeah, because that guy will never turn the job down.
I know he won't.
He didn't have to crawl into the suit. He'd fly across the world from England to record 2 lines of C-3PO dialogue to save his character.
As long as C-3PO is in a movie, that man will be paid. And that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah, he'll be in the bathroom barfing his breakfast up so he can squeeze into that metal suit.
Oh gosh.
I don't know. He comes off as a very slender man in real life, but he's eating disorder C-3PO from Star Wars 17.
Please don't make that an action figure. Please don't make that an action figure.
Hopefully not. Yeah.
No, so if I was Hasbro, and I played this game a lot, if I was Hasbro, what retro figures would I include in this Return of the Jedi line if they ever come out with one? And I've thought to myself, which ones would I want to see?
Oh, it's more of a win than if, man.
Well,
we've had this discussion, but go on.
So so if we follow the pattern which has been released, the 6 figures per wave, my 6 would have to be. I would have to include the Emperor. Right, the Emperor has to be carded. I would like to see an Endor Luke and an Endor Leia, but I know that Endor Luke is from the 17 that came after Return of the Jedi, so I don't know if people would see that as a true reissue or a retro. But getting Endor Leia, maybe Endor Han, Jedi Luke, if we can't get Endor Luke, Jedi Luke would be a good one. And then throw in maybe the Red Guard, the Red Imperial Guards are like iconic Return of the Jedi for me. So if I'm looking for an iconic carded figure for Return of the Jedi, it's got to have that guy, the Red Guards. Maybe to round out number 6, maybe throw in Akbar. Akbar's not like everybody's favorite, I guess. I don't know, but it's a trap.
Can we please put him in with the next Monopoly edition or something? Like they did Moff Tarkin. Let's save Akbar.
Let's save Akbar for the game.
Put him in with some other.
A re-release of the Sarlacc Pit. I have the original of that game.
Oh, there you go. That'd be a great place for him. So. I'm not too far off from you on what I think that we'll see and what I'd like to see. There's always a Luke, Han, and Leia in every series, so I think that we would definitely... Jedi Luke is in 100%. I would like to see Han and Carbonite, but again, that's a final 17.
Yeah.
But very iconic figure from there. Otherwise, it would have to be Han in indoor trench coat, and I don't know how they are about soft goods. You know, if they're going to want to include much in the way of the soft goods. So, I mean, that wouldn't really hurt Jedi Luke. But,
they did do Yoda with cloth, but that was a one figure in the line.
Maybe.
They might not be turned off to it.
So then you've got Leia as the bounty hunter.
Oh, Boosh. Yeah, I didn't think of that one, yeah.
And they will not do slave Leia, guaranteed. They won't even use the word slave anymore. And you got to have the Emperor.
Emperor's a must.
The Royal Guard would be awesome to have one of those. And I think that the wild card, my preference would be Biker Scout, 100%, because it's my favorite trooper. I think it's going to be an Ewok. Wicket.
Oh, God.
Probably Wicket.
Ewoks.
I think it's going to be an Ewok. I just have a feeling in my bones. So
you might be right.
Jedi
if they do it.
Jedi Luke. Han is debatable. Leia is the bounty hunter. Boosh. Emperor,
what about Lando?
Royal Guard. We got a Lando. I love the Skiff Guard's my favorite Lando.
Yeah.
But I really think that we're going to miss Lando this series. And we got Ewok or Biker Scout probably. Hasbro might surprise me.
Biker Scout would be awesome.
I would love it.
That would be good.
I'd love a Biker Scout reissue.
Imagine
but we didn't get Snowtrooper.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which was an iconic Empire Strikes Back action figure.
100%, yeah.
That was like everybody's favorite action figure growing up.
Damn, maybe they should have put a Snowtrooper in with that
the Hoth
battle game
instead of the Luke.
Luke from the Snowspeeder.
Oh,
yeah.
man, see? This is Hasbro. Cool. We are available for consultation 24/7. If you need ideas, please contact us.
We have seen the movies multiple times, so that should make us far more qualified than the toy professionals you have currently working for you.
This is true. I think we are overqualified for this.
And we played with toys. Well, outside, in the dirt, we played with toys.
We'll even admit it. Oh, man. So, retro lines, I think, are good for the franchises. Mm-hmm. I think they're good because it keeps us old guys engaged, looking for more.
Oh, that's the only people buying it.
Well, yeah, that's the sad thing, you know. I get that, you know, progress it marches forward without us sometimes, but I think some of the things that we leave behind are very important, and I think toys are very important. I really do. You know, as a kid, playing in the dirt, playing with my toys, and even when I had video games to turn to, I still would go back to my toys. Right? Toys have just always been this thing, and I don't know whether
video games you're in someone else's sandbox. With toys, the adventure is all yours to create.
It is, and you know, and I don't know if a lot of people would realize this now, but it's very therapeutic to take something from your childhood or take a figure that you've seen in a movie or something like that and just kind of hold it in your hands and just, even if it's for 2 minutes, just kind of play around with it imagine something else.
It's a time capsule for your memories.
It is.
And all of these brands who have survived so long, there is something special about the brands that get people engaged. And whenever you buy a retro toy or a reissue toy, you're buying back your child. I have said this 100 times. You're buying back your childhood memories, your feelings. You're buying them back.
Yep.
And you're right. It's a simpler time. It was a much more fun time. I don't think that today's kids will ever have that same level of connection to their toys because their tablets and the video games have gotten so much more complicated, and there's open world. But the same thing that made toys so great is probably the reason why people engage in tabletop role playing, Dungeons and Dragons, etc.
Yeah.
You are creating a character as the dungeon master. You are creating the adventures and all of the non-player characters, but as a player character, it's all you.
Yeah.
You decide if your character is like Luke Skywalker or Optimus Prime or He-Man or whatever it is, whatever game that you're playing that allows you some creativity. So it's escapism and it's therapeutic that way.
It is very much so. And I count tabletop D&D games as toys. Those things are toys. I mean, they're games, but they fall squarely in the toy category for me because of that reason.
Yeah, and for people who have a particularly creative streak, they're a great outlet. And toys, one plastic action figure in the hand of a child is hours of adventures created.
Absolutely.
It is digging in the dirt. It is creating obstacles. It is resolving conflict with an enemy. It's an entire adventure in a little piece of $10 plastic. Video games are cool. I still play some video games. Every once in a while something comes and you just get hooked on it and you want to play the crap out of it.
I'm not saying that video games don't have
Red Dead
their place.
Redemption 2, which seems to be like the most popular game of all time. I'm playing Pillars of Eternity because I'm 40-something and I still like Dungeons and Dragons. The toy, probably the single greatest tool for inspiring creativity in children.
Yeah.
100%. And when we're buying back our memories, that's fueling this. It's the 40-somethings that are our age that are fueling this whole retro reemergence. I'm looking at your wall with those real Ghostbusters figures, and I'm just remembering how much I love my Ghostbusters figures and the adventures I had with my Egon Spangler, my one figure. And I guess I can say this, the franchises who have survived to have retro-inspired toys, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, all of them, we might not like the direction that they go in. They might make you want to choke on your stomach bile like every single Transformers movie that's been made so far, except maybe Bumblebee. But the more people they engage, the more money they make, the more room in the budget there will be for these sidelines that are strictly for us.
Yep.
Right now, you've got this Transformers, the series that was focused around Bumblebee. I don't remember the name at the moment, but
Was it the Buzzworthy one?
Well, Buzzworthy's a Target line.
Oh, that
the
one.
stock characters in that style.
What was that? Oh, yeah.
It's an animated cartoon, and that's got to be driving the Transformers market from the new consumer base. But for every one of those mainstream lines, and for every crappy movie line that they put out, we get Walmart reissues of G1.
Yeah.
We get Earthrise and Siege, and we get Kingdom, which have the absolute best versions ever made of the characters that are featured in those shows.
I so agree. I love those figures, and even though the show kind of has maybe one or two things about it that I'm like, I'm not too sure about that, but they gave us the figures that I've always wanted. And somebody said, I saw online that like these are just slightly less better masterpieces, Transformers. And I would kind of agree with that. They're articulated well, they're engineered well, they're molded well, they look beautiful. And so I think they're the best versions of Transformers we've had to date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even, I mean, I love the G1 line. I'm always going to love the G1 line, and I love the aesthetic look of the G1 line. You know, the shiny metal plastic and the very blocky arms and legs. But this line has just been phenomenal. I think it's like done really well in combining both.
Oh, it's like watching the cartoon walk right off of the cell into a piece of plastic. I do not like... I think that some of them are over-engineered, so the transformations are a little complicated, but those lines are not for children.
Right.
When we played with original Transformers, we could make the sound, and you could turn Bumblebee into a Volkswagen Bug. That still is there for today's child-centric line of Transformers, which I'm happy about. But that Optimus Prime I bought was the perfect example of a mini masterpiece and engineering out the yin-yang. So it's designed solely to sit on a shelf. So I wish they were a little simpler, but I get it. The extra engineering makes it to where you can tuck parts away and you can get a better overall aesthetic. But boy, we are absolutely in a reemergence of the golden age of vintage-looking Transformers. I would have shit a brick when I was a kid if we had the Kingdom Optimus Prime, with how accurate that thing is to the cartoon model. Man, I don't know what I would have done with it. But
the Netflix packaging one that I got from you actually is my most favorite Optimus Prime out of every line. When you look at him, he looks like Optimus Prime from the cartoon. He looks like he should look. And he's a beautiful Prime. He's a beautiful Prime.
Even that Megatron that turns into a tank, that is the best Megatron ever. And I love the G1 turning into a gun.
Which we'll never see again.
Never see a reissue ever. But yeah, I gotta give it to him. I mean, they couldn't have got a better G1 aesthetic out of that Megatron.
No, he looks beautiful. Except for, he's got a rather large tread backpack, but considering he turns into a tank and not a gun,
I'll take a little bit of kibble.
Yeah,
and it makes the figure look more menacing that way, I think.
Yeah.
So, we're in retro heaven right now, and I'm just thankful that we're getting all of it, because I look back 20 years ago, and there was only a trickle of product coming out. There really wasn't much for the collector. Before KB shut down, they had some really great Ninja Turtle reissues that were 3 for $10.
Those days are gone.
Now they're $30 for one. Now, when I see those Ninja Turtles in the store, they're getting bought. Those Walmart reissue Turtles.
You're so hopeful to see them in the store.
Well, isn't hoping against hope the most endearing human trait?
You cling to what you have to. I'm never going to see those things in stores.
Well, a little glimpse into the levels I'm willing to go. Every morning I report to work at about 7:15, and there is a Walmart on the way to my work. I'm there every morning at about 6:55, looking for the things I want in the toy aisle. And once the troops muster, I generally find time to go across the street to Target, by where I work in Kennewick, Washington, and see what they've got in there. And I am a glutton for punishment, because it's heartbreaking about 99% of the time, but you know what? You
score some good ones.
You find a Revelations He-Man.
You do score
You find a
some good
Zartan. You find G.I. Joe Classified when it first came out, and you could never find it again. So thankful for those opportunities.
I do have to say that you have done a tremendous amount of legwork for me in that regard, because I cannot get out at those times. And usually those times are the times when they've got their shelves stocked. So you helped me out with that. In fact, a lot of the things I've got in my collection the last couple months have been because you've been so generous in picking something up for me.
Well, the best part of the hobby is sharing it, and that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yep.
When we first started talking about it, we had such passion for these things, and there's more people like us out there, and there's more people in this area. Sharing the hobby is the best part. Not trying to make a buck off of other people in the hobby, but just hearing the passion come out and the way that these little pieces of plastic have affected our lives, the impressions that they've made on our psyches and changed the way that we thought when we were kids. So having someone to share it with is excellent. Plus, I can say, well, I'm searching for something for Doug.
Oh.
This is Doug's fault, sweetheart.
Yeah.
We just have to go through the toy aisle. Just look,
You know she doesn't believe you, right?
I'll go very quickly. Oh no. My wife knows me. She's married to me.
She doesn't believe you. But that's okay. You tell yourself what you have to tell yourself.
Well, I'm lucky.
I'm
though.
thankful for you, by the way. I'm
my-
not going to
my-
tell you not to.
My wife loves Star Wars, so occasionally there's little things that I can find for her. She's not as hardcore into collecting, but whenever I can get something for somebody else, it's just a huge joy for me. And justifies my presence. It makes me feel like less of a lunatic. But yeah, that's I don't know how you feel about it, but that's a huge part of the hobby for me. You're collecting by yourself, you're collecting for the joy, but sharing the joy.
I mean, that's half of the hobby that I love the most, is being able to connect with somebody else and sharing the memories that we've had. And being able to have this, oh, me too moment, right? Like, oh, I used to play with that in the... So did I! I used to... And then, and then it just goes off from there. And then you guys can... We could sit and we can hold the same toy and we can just have those same memories. And we know what each other's talking about. We know where the other person has been. Doesn't matter what's happened in our lives. Doesn't matter what's going on. We can say that because of this, I was able to get through this. Yeah. Or... I was able to connect with this, and I was able to meet other friends because we thought the same way. And
one of the things that bums me out is even if people don't collect toys now, they don't have anything sitting on the shelf. Many, many, many people have all of these positive memories attached to their Saturday mornings or toys they had when they were a kid. A lot of people are reluctant because they feel it makes them seem like a nerd or they don't want to be accepted. And I don't know how many times it's happened to you, but multiple times. I've ran into guys out there in the wild, as we like to say, and they don't want to talk, or they give you a sideways glance or something, and you strike up a conversation with them. The guy I work for, totally into Masters of the Universe when he was a kid, totally a baseball card kid. So was I. So were you.
Yep.
I get him talking about it, and all of these memories just come back to him. And he's got a pile of sports cards that he keeps down in his basement in a box, and he gets into them once in a while and looks at them and remembers how cool that Bo Jackson scorecard was with the baseball bat and the football pads or whatever it was.
Oh, I remember that card.
That's right.
I remember that card.
Anyways, you get him talking about it, and all the great memories come back. And when I have him over at some point, I love my boss to death. We're just in step, and he's a super good dude. He will see the toy room, and everything's coming back to him.
Oh my gosh. So spoiler alert, in the future when we do decide to post pictures of our toy room, Steve's is awesome. That's all I'm going to say. It's so cool. I love going over to your house and looking at your shelf.
You got a rad setup too, man. And when I walk in here, in a future podcast, we are going to cover the subject of what is Steve's favorite thing in Doug's room and what is Doug's favorite thing in Steve's room. We're going to save it for some other time because it's too hard to pick one, but I got a couple of definite answers.
That's a good topic. I like that one because that's going to be hard. That's going to be a hard one.
Oh, not for me. There's a few things in here that just my hard and fast rule on collecting is it all has to fit in the room. No full-on toys or collectibles get to go in the closet. There's little boxes of parts in the closet, or boxes if it happens to be a special edition or a really cool box with great box art. But I don't save all boxes. All toys that are part of my collection must be displayed in the room. There's a couple of pieces that are just super rad, and I wouldn't have the room in my room for it. I'm running out of ceiling space. And I got the space filled up behind the door. So
that reminds me, offline, I have to talk to you about that. But yeah. I think going forward, we got some pretty good topics to cover. They may not all be as long as this one, or who knows, they may be even longer. I mean, sometimes when Steve and I get together and talk about toys, we will talk about toys all night. I mean, last time you were over here, we stood on my porch for 2 hours and talked about toys. Yeah, didn't even think about coming inside.
And for anybody out there, How many times have you told your wife, I won't be long?
Yeah, right.
I won't be long.
I'm going over to Steve's house. I'll be right back. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
No, you won't.
No, you won't. No, you won't. So I guess in closing, since we've talked a lot about retro, and it really went more into the retro discussion than just the Mandos, if you had a dream series to be re-released or retroized or released in some sort of similar packaging and design like the original toys, what's your pick? What's your pick?
That's a good question. There's so many out there that I think deserve a really good second chance.
And this can be barring engineering. If it's a deal where it was a toy line where it had many, many unique molds, and a lot of those molds disintegrate in time. So barring engineering, barring metal parts, springs, etc., that some of the companies don't like putting into their toys.
Yeah.
Do you got one pick that you can give everyone that you would love to see make a comeback on the shelves?
One. If I had to choose one, I think. Okay, I'm a huge. You and I are big Masters of the Universe fans. To tag onto that, Black Star.
Okay.
I like the Black Star feel of those action figures. I loved seeing them on the shelves. I think a lot of the figures that are out today, especially online, like if you're going looking for, if you're going to buy some, they're heavily played with. So they've got a lot of paint wear. The plastic is dirty. The joints are loose. To get a new reissue of some of the Black Star lines, maybe even come up with a new cartoon, a re-release of the cartoon, or Netflix does a Black Star, some
limited series, like the very excellent Masters of the Universe Revelations.
Yeah, so Revelation, that's another podcast.
Another story.
That's another time. But I will say Revelations cartoon and Revelations action figures are two separate things to me. I think
they're very well done. They're good figures.
They're very well done.
So you say Black Star.
I say Black Star.
Would you have exact reissues of the original figures with like the laser light feature, which was like that cigarette lighter?
That was cool.
The flint
that was cool.
It's awesome. Or would you rather see them done in a very respectful upgrade like Masters of the Universe Origins?
Yes, like Masters of the Universe Origins.
Okay, so you'd want to see the updated, like elbow and wrist articulation, respectfully done in a way that matches the aesthetic of the original figures.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe even give the little guys, because the originals came packaged with the little rubber Trobbits.
Trobbits, yes.
And maybe even kind of making those guys a little, articulated.
Or a two-pack of the Trobbits or something that could warm pegs.
Yeah. I mean, no, they wouldn't warm pegs for me. I'd want to get every single one of them. I love the Trobbits, especially the dude with the big ears.
So that's a great toy line. The cartoon was absolutely pioneering for the two halves of the Power Sword thing. It's a great design. The Power Sword, the Star Sword, and the Star.
Yeah, if you want to bring me right back to Saturday morning, Black Star cartoons. I'm telling you right now, that'll bring me right back to eating cereal in front of the television in my pajamas every time. Black Star.
Yeah. That real strong contender, I think.
What's yours?
Well, I think that it would take some movie support to happen, and I think with today's technology, it could be done. I would really like to see Mask make a comeback.
Oh, Mask.
Based on the play patterns of the toys, combining the two greatest elements, you've got Transformers and G.I. Joe. Yes. Mask was almost cooler just for the characters. The masks that were able to, produce a certain effect, a blast or to lift things.
A hologram.
And I think that with movies like Fast and the Furious and what they're able to do with some CGI, I love practical effects. I don't care for a lot of CGI, but I think if Mask was done right and there was a supporting toy line, I would love to see the retro figures and vehicles reissued because they're so damn expensive. Now, I've collected almost everything from wave 1 through 3. I'm missing just a few parts of a few vehicles, but
I am very, very envious of your mask collection.
it has been time-consuming and expensive, and thank God some of my spiffs pay out on money cards that don't hit the bank account. That's all I got to say about that. Anyways, those toys were absolutely phenomenal. The engineering was great. Some of the parts were a little bit weak, but you had like figures with reasonable paint apps. They couldn't paint the little eyeballs on them or anything on the face, but I think that toy line combines so many great ideas, and those toys were so cool when they came out, and just there's a lot of engineering with them, but I would love to see the mask toys reissued. That would be.
Can you imagine walking into the toy aisle and seeing the red mask box again on the shelf?
Oh, or the art.
With the big white letters and just
the painted art, which is completely lost. We're getting some like digitally painted art on a lot of toys now, on like the Transformers, but they do not pop off of those boxes like the original painted art from the 80s.
No.
So mask would be my big pick.
That's a good pick.
If I could have it, that would be the one, and I would have everything in box, because all of my loose ones, the vintage ones, just don't look the same. Plus, I have that one specific part of my collection which is very well displayed with vintage stuff, so it'd look cool over there too.
It would look very cool.
I got to get a bigger room.
You're gonna need more shelves, man.
Yeah, I got to get a bigger room. If I could get my wife's stupid Star Wars dolls out of there, and I could gain 4 feet back of space for my action figures.
You better hope she doesn't listen to this then.
She never will. She never will. You don't have to worry about that. She'll never hear this podcast. My wife has so many better things to do than listen to me talk for an additional 50 minutes or wherever
she
we're
doesn't
at.
Get enough of that at home.
About toys.
Oh, I think that is a good segue to go ahead and close it up.
I think so too. It's been a very good inaugural sort of discussion. Also, sound check.
Yep.
So.
And we'll have plenty more to talk about. There's so much more. We came up with a great list of topics, which I'm sure we will deviate from in every podcast, and it'll lead to some great discussions. So,
yeah. And at some point, we'll figure out some sort of interface or outreach. I love sharing this hobby with my friends. I love sharing it with Doug. And there's so many more of you guys out there with this passion, the same kind of passion that we have. There's no reason for us not to be connected in some way.
Yep. So however we get this out, YouTube, however, Instagram, I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll figure out a way to get it out there. And hopefully, if we get 1 or 2 likes or somebody to comment, I think that's be like, oh my gosh, somebody commented on our podcast. But that's...
Yes,
I
think perhaps this will eventually see the light of day as some sort of faux... benevolent additional content that we will be putting out there for you. The extra cast. Not a sound check. Extra content.
I think, with this one, I think
DLC.
DLC. Yeah. Is that the term the kids are calling it these days? All right. Well, with that said, thanks, Steve. It was a good talk.
Oh, awesome, man. Anytime.